The following episode will contain spoilers. You have been warned.
You're listening to Cinema IRL, the podcast that throws you into the movie and asks the question, what would you do? Families shouldn't fight over money. But when that family completely shut you and your mum out and there is $28 billion at stake, well, I guess it's easier to loosen those morals as Amber and Scott watch How to Make a Killing. And now, Cinema IRL.
I wish I could switch places for just one day.
What would you do?
Put yourself in my shoes.
How do we handle this?
What would you do?
Put yourself in my position.
What would you do?
Now it's your turn.
Why is it always the crappy families that have lots of money? Why can't good families have lots of money?
You know, I think a lot of that money probably goes to therapists because they seem to have a lot of issues, at least those rich movie families.
Well, actually, I would argue that not enough of it goes to therapists, but it really should.
Probably fair enough. Alrighty, folks, welcome to Cinema IRL. This episode, we are talking about how to make a killing. Disowned at birth by his obscenely wealthy family, blue-collar Beckett Redfellow will stop at nothing to reclaim his inheritance no matter how many relatives stand in his way. This is a Glen Powell movie, and he is rapidly turning into one of my favorite actors.
Yeah, I enjoy him a lot. And I'm going to say, I'm going to make some comments here because I'm a little twitchy at some of the facts involved in this movie.
Yes, it's a movie, not a documentary.
I know.
Okay, well, get it off your chest so we can move on.
Let's just go ahead and start with the one big one up front.
Okay.
Just because something's an irrevocable trust.
Oh, we're legal facts.
Yes, does not mean that you're not allowed to change who inherits it and how much and all of that. The assets might be in an irrevocable trust, which is essentially like a business that owns it at that point. You can't just pull it out of a business because you want to. But if you're the executor there, you can still change who gets what.
Okay, so the screenwriters didn't run this past a lawyer, is what I'm hearing from you.
No, but it still makes for a good premise, so I'll allow it.
All right, so we see Beckett's mom at the beginning of the film from this extremely wealthy family hooking up with some guy at a party and making making out with him in a car and getting knocked up on that first tryst in the car, getting pregnant, and then going to daddy and saying, oops, I'm having a baby. And daddy says, yeah, you basically can't abort it or you are dead to me and will forever be dead to me. And she chooses to have the baby. The kicker is she walks away from everything. She has the baby, and the boy that she hooked up with is there with her. He's in the delivery room and keels over and dies during the delivery at like 21:22.
Yeah, 21, yeah.
So she is all by herself with this newborn.
Well, let's not jump past the first. What would you do?
Okay, what do you got?
You're 18.
Oh, and you get knocked up?
You're knocked up. I'll say this. This reminded me of a joke I saw on, it was probably Instagram or something the other day. And they were like, yeah, my mom used to beat me. Yeah. Like
you shared this with me. Yeah, it's messed up.
With a coat hanger.
Yeah, this
like
is
actually a
messed up.
wire coat hanger.
Oh, okay, folks.
And
this is bad.
But once I was born, she started using a belt.
Yeah, that's messed up.
Yeah, it was a messed up joke. I'm aborting. 100%. I'm sorry. Like, you just, why make that decision? Like, it's a guy you met once.
It's not about the guy. It's about the child.
Okay, you're 18.
I mean,
you can
that's
have
a very
another.
guy. Wow. Okay.
Or you know what? You don't have to abort it. Maybe give it up for adoption. Or
I don't think the dad would have allowed that.
Yeah, because it was the whole concept of his daughter being pregnant.
Yeah,
probably.
And also probably with a poorer or a commoner or someone like that. He was a musician, so that's obviously shaming the family.
When in doubt, Plan B.
Oh wow. Okay, I'm not touching this. So at that point, she has a newborn. She is disowned from her family. And she gets a job at the DMV, and she raises her boy, and she teaches him archery, and she teaches him, how to be, a proper person, and wants him to be, sophisticated and educated. But when he's, I don't know, maybe around 10 or so, he kicks the bucket, and he is left by himself because the family has nothing to do with her. basically knocks on the mansion gate and is promptly delivered a type letter that says basically,
go F yourself.
Yeah, go away, hope you're doing well. Something like that. So he bounces around the foster care system, and then we fast forward until he is a grown man.
Yeah, I'm interrupting another what would you do at this
please.
point.
That's why we're here.
Around the time that his mom dies and somebody could have helped but didn't.
Right.
I have nothing but hatred for this family the rest of my life. 100%. You mean you could have done something to help my mom survive and you let her die? Screw you.
Okay, so here's the thing. I don't know that the family knew that she was sick. And he does mention, they didn't help her or whatnot. I don't know if they knew that she was sick. But what we do know the family knew is that she wanted to be buried at the family mausoleum on the property. And they said no. And she got basically put in a hole on the side of a freeway or something. I mean, it was a cemetery, but it was still far less dignified than being in the family mausoleum.
Yeah, no. If I'm this kid, I hate every single thing about this family. And I might have gone through with the plot of this movie even if there hadn't been $28 billion involved.
So we see now Beckett, he's a grown man, and he works at a fine men's apparel shop.
But we have maybe skipped one small, very key step, and that would be Julia Steinway.
Yeah. Do you want to?
Yeah, the girl, his first crush.
When he was 10, right before his mom died.
Yeah, and he tries to impress her with the idea that he might be the heir to this fortune, and
one day when I get older, I'm gonna inherit all of this.
Let me know. So this is weird because
she comes from money. She's not an average person either.
Yeah. So definitely, this is even at a young age. This is kind of a massive red flag. But in the same respect, when you're that young, you're not thinking about red flags. Just your heart's going to do whatever the hell it's going to do, and sometimes you might be like, damn it, why this one? But
yeah, they had a little crush there. She kissed him, but also, too, said, he felt compelled to say, I'm going to have money one day, because he didn't, and then his mom died, and they lost track as he got pushed through the foster care system. So this girl that was his first crush, was collateral damage of him being an orphan and moving around. So he doesn't see her after he's 10 or so, and his mom dies.
Yeah. This is the messed up childhood that he's had. Honestly, the fact that he even ended up in a good high-end men's shop working, actually did pretty good, I think, to get to there. Yeah.
And he is at the job one day, and in walks this girl who says, Beckett, is that you? Okay, that's my first issue. At that point, they're 30 or something? And I wouldn't recognize someone that I hadn't seen since they were 10 years old until they were a full-fledged grown adult. I think very few people are going to look the same, much less so that after, 2 decades or more that you're going to be like, oh, is that you? Is that you from, 4th grade or 3rd grade or whatever?
Well, we don't know exactly what the age was. It might have been a little older than 10.
Well, even so, it's fair to say it was at least a good 20 years.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I could actually see recognizing, especially if it's that one or two people that just had a massive impression on you when you were younger, and presumably it went both ways.
Yeah. So she flirts with him a little bit, but then he asks her out for drinks, and she says, oh, bad timing, and, kind of wiggles her finger that she has an engagement ring on, and off she goes back out the door to, meet up with her fiance, and that's that. Long series of events. I don't know, where do you want to jump to next? Because a lot kind of happens. Yeah. Oh! I forgot the hugely important part. She asks him, whatever happened with that whole inheritance thing, and he says, "I'm there, getting there," kind of a thing. It's still going to happen. And she says, "Okay," and I put this in air quotes jokingly, you. I'm paraphrasing. This wasn't it, but basically, you better get to knocking people off or something like that.
Yeah, make a killing or something like that. Yeah.
Well, no, she doesn't say make a killing. She says something about killing them to get to the result faster. You better start knocking people off or something like that.
The red flag at 12 is still a red flag at 32.
And he hears that, And I think that is the foundation for what happens for the rest of the film.
Well, it was half of that, and then it was half of the tail owner's son coming in and taking over his job because nepotism and privilege.
Yeah, they want to let him go from his job because the boss's son needs a job, and they want to send him to the warehouse.
Yeah, and he's like, it's kind of that idea that hard work's not going to pay off. So maybe we should, if I've got this other avenue I could take, maybe we should consider this avenue because screw them anyway.
Yeah, so he starts stalking his family and basically finding his cousins. And a lot of things here, I don't think we need to go through them point by point because there's a lot of murders, but basically starts knocking off his family. The first one, he ties a rope around someone's foot, and they drop the anchor. And
that was
a
very loose knot.
Well, it's just enough to get you some leverage if the anchor's going down. And then he meets up with another cousin who's an artist and falls for his girlfriend. So
yeah, they seem to have instant chemistry.
Instinct chemistry? What does that mean?
It looked like he did. Beckett and her.
Instinct?
Beckett and Ruth?
Yeah, where do you keep saying instinct?
Instant.
Oh, okay.
Instant.
I thought that was a joke about the movie
Instant chemistry.
Okay. And that's also a good what would you do. So you track down your cousin in an attempt to get intel to knock him off, but then you find out you really like his girlfriend. What do you do?
Wow. I mean, I think you could see the writing on the wall anyway between them. you can tell.
They had a lot in common. They both liked literature and they had conversations and they really clicked. But in the meantime, Beckett is there for a job, which is to knock off his cousin Noah. And in the process, he sets up a plan for it to look like an accident. And right after he sets up all of the series of events for, there to be an explosion, he ends up kissing the girl, Ruth. And Noah dies. There's a second death in the family. And Ruth just kind of falls off the radar for a little while there because her boyfriend died.
I am just going to say, just as a note, so we are completely clear here. Beckett's a psychopath. He's some of these plans. Holy crap!
Yeah,
either that or the writer. The writer of the thing's a psycho.
Yeah, the second one is basically Noah's an artist. There is a dark room and basically creates a chemical cocktail which makes the whole place go boom.
Yikes.
Okay, so that takes us to another what would you do? Beckett, even though he is not known by the family, he's able to just kind of show up and say, hey, I'm your cousin. He goes to these funerals, so now we have two, and he puts on a hat and a pair of glasses. But after the first one, the guy that went down with the anchor, he gives his condolences to that guy's dad, who is his uncle. And his uncle basically says, I'm sorry. I should have helped your mom. I should have stepped up. She was so brave. I didn't do right then. Let me do right now. And gives him a job at the brokerage because his son's died. His son didn't really know what he was doing. He was like, let's make nepotism work for us.
There's no time machine. Nepotism screwed you once. How it helps you now?
Yeah, and he starts working at his uncle's financial firm. But he still keeps showing up at other family members' places saying either he's someone else, like I'm part of the help or I work here or whatever, and they don't know at that point that this guy's part of the family. And that was the first thing that I thought was a little bit sloppy is like, okay, so he's working for the uncle, but you don't really know he exists or you don't know what he looks like. Anyway, so beside the point.
Well, here's the thing. The one person that seemed to get real information on him where he was giving fake information was Stephen, the pastor.
Yes.
But they made it sound like Stephen was kind of out there doing his own thing anyway. Like he was family, but he wasn't really connected in with the family.
Yeah, he was a wackadoodle that had gotten sued by a bunch of people and created his own ministry. And he initially calls out Beckett, and we think he knows what's up. But it turns out he just knows he's not the reporter. Beckett says, I'm a reporter. I want to interview you. And he figures out he's not the reporter, but he still doesn't realize who he is. But in the process of setting up this sham of I'm here to interview you, he puts something toxic in Stephen's drink, and Stephen goes bye-bye.
Yeah, Stephen was about to go all Kagoshi on on him.
What is? Oh, with the sword.
Yeah, like, oh, you're gonna write a bad piece about me? No.
So at this point, you have 3 murders racked up. What would you do? Do you keep going, or is this just getting easier and you can see the light at the end of the tunnel?
See, this is where you have to start mathing. Do you?
Oh, and keep in mind, the FBI has already visited him after the second death, saying, this is a coincidence, isn't it? You have an inheritance, and they're already talking to him after murder 2. Do you keep going after the FBI has started questioning you? Because the whole family members are just dropping like flies.
So here's the thing. Probably yes.
Probably yes, you keep killing?
No, probably yes, I'd stop. Maybe. So, well, no, because here's the thing, okay?
Okay, what's the thing?
He at this point now loves his uncle.
Yes, he does.
So he's not planning on knocking off his uncle.
Yeah, he definitely doesn't want to, because
if you're not knocking them all off, you're not getting the fortune. 6 out of 7 doesn't get you the fortune. Now, he would have gotten his uncle a whole bunch of money.
Well, and the point is the uncle's, he's 61. He's hopefully not going anywhere anytime soon, because I'd hate to think someone dies at 61. But at least if you get all your peers who are around the same age out of that, it does still accelerate your inheritance, even if there's still one person standing.
Oh, yeah, no, he got rid of the 2 cousins, and he got rid of the youngest...
Stephen the pastor.
Yeah, I mean, outside of his mom, who was the absolute youngest. But so he got left with the uncle who was born 1961, and the other one, MacArthur, who was born 1959. Okay? The only one that becomes a little questionable here is Cassandra, who was born 1969. So, yeah.
Which fast forward, ultimately he does take out everybody.
Yeah, I might have... Like, if I'm where he's at that point, I might take out Cassandra. But I'm probably not taking out MacArthur. He's 10 years older. He's closer. Like, here's the thing. You're already settled into a pretty good life. Like,
yeah, because as he's doing this scheme to knock everybody out, his life is getting better because he got this job from his uncle. He's now reconnected with Noah's girlfriend, and it's his girlfriend now, and they're looking at a place together, and he's legitimately put together a pretty reasonable life for himself.
Yeah. I mean, it's not $28 billion.
And he's with a girl that is a teacher. And, you know, she's not necessarily saying, I need you to have the mansion or anything like that. He could stop. But he keeps going. So...
Because I think the scriptwriters wanted him to.
Well, yeah, that's, I mean, what makes a movie?
I mean, let me be clear to begin with here. IRL, no matter how much I hate them, I'm not really going to go try to kill them. Like, IRL, this is not a plot I'm going to do. Just mostly because I'm scared I'd get caught. And I don't want to go to jail. Because they were pretty awful.
Well, the reality is, too, is all of these people he killed had nothing to do with what happened with his mom. Some of them weren't even, you know, they were kids at the time, too. Or whatnot. So some of these people were not directly involved. His uncle absolutely could have stood up for his sister. He didn't. He said, I blew it. Let me do things right now. But the dad is the one who is the really bad guy in here, who basically tells Beckett's mom when she's pregnant at 18, you have to abort your baby or leave. So it turns out his uncle actually dies of natural causes. And we are left with the dad. The dad who's the one ultimately responsible, his grandfather.
Yeah. So, man, this one's hard because you just really want to knock him off. Again, for free. Like, you just want to knock him off for free because of what he did to your mom. But if you knock him off, you get $28 billion. But, I mean, again, here's the problem. I mean, he's apparently seeing it coming. I don't know. But he actually hands Beckett a gun and is like, shoot me.
Okay. Yeah, let's fill that in. So Beckett is now engaged to Ruth, the teacher, who was Noah's girlfriend, and they are having an engagement party. And it's Friday at 7, and they're having it at their apartment. And that same day, Beckett has a really bad day. Number one, he gets extorted by Julia, the young girl who he knew as a child, who he had the flirty thing with, who says basically, I've been following you. Here's a bunch of pictures of you at all the crime scenes. I'm going to turn this in, and you're going to get in prison if you don't give me and my husband $300,000, because her husband lost all of their money. And at the same time, he gets an invitation from his grandfather to say, come to the house. And that's the same night as the engagement party. And Beckett basically takes the money from the company account and gives it to Julia's husband.
Because you don't want to, go to prison for murder.
And the husband is also someone who was young and in class with Julie and Beckett around that same time when they were 10. And he says something demeaning to him, like, calling him something like, I can't remember what it was, but, the kid from the wrong side of the tracks. And,
yeah.
And Beckett hits him and he falls to the ground and he leaves. Well, it turns out Julia is freaking diabolical, and she finds her husband, and we're pretty much led to believe that she kills him.
Yeah, I mean...
And then Beckett is charged. After getting away with all of these murders, ultimately Beckett is charged with the murder of Julia's husband, but not before he goes to the grandfather's house to meet him.
So I do have to believe that Julia was the one who killed her husband, because if you're going to commit suicide, it's probably not going to be like via a letter opener. Like, you're probably going to come up with a better way of doing it. So... Yeah. Even though they now, in retrospect, find a note, but yeah, it wasn't real.
So Beckett goes to his grandfather's house, even though there is a conflict with the time with his engagement party. But he tells Ruth, I'm going to be a half hour late, and he goes to the grandfather's house, which is an elaborate setup. The grandfather just wants to get him in the house. He has all of the doors bolted, shut, closed, boarded up, and Beckett is trapped in the house, and the grandfather is talking to him and saying, your mom was my favorite. Here's my gun collection. Do you want to hold one? And then basically says, point it at me. You can shoot me. And
so no and no. No, I'm not putting my prints on that gun, which is what I thought they were doing.
I agree. That's what I thought was happening.
And two, I'm not pointing the gun at him, not even in jest. Like, what are you doing? You want him to think for even a moment that you actually want to kill him? No. You shut that down immediately.
Yeah, I thought it was a trap to get his fingerprints on the gun and that he was going to wound himself. So what would you do? Obviously, you wouldn't touch the gun. Number two, I wouldn't touch the gun. And if I did, I would wipe my prints off of it.
Yeah, I'd be like, listen.
You don't need to be a diabolical genius to know you wipe your prints.
I get what was the past. I understand that there were things that happened in the past that were not good. But at this point, I don't really have family. And they're dying left and right. So, I'm not here to kill you at all. If anything, I just want to try to reconnect with family.
Well, that's not what he
Well, of course not. But if I'm him, that's what I'm saying. Because you want to...
Well, he was invited there. He didn't just show up. He didn't need to explain himself as to why he was there. He was invited there by his grandfather. But
I'm talking about when he's like, here's my gun, all of that. Like, no, why would I want anything to do with
initially
that?
He was showing it to him. He was like, this is a great gun. He held it. He was like, oh, do you want to hold it? Initially, it wasn't like, hey, take this gun and point it at me. It was conversational.
I might have considered holding the gun if he hadn't loaded it first.
Yeah, I mean, he says hold it, see what it feels like or something. And so Beckett does hold it, and he points at it's something random in the room. And that's when the grandfather says, point it at me. Which, per you, what would you do? I would not point it at the grandfather, and you wouldn't either.
Like, even in jest, you're making a gesture of, yeah, I wouldn't mind you being dead, but I'm not going to pull the trigger because it would obviously point back to me.
Yeah. So fast forwarding, the grandfather chases him throughout the house. He cannot get out, keeps shooting at him, shoots up the entire mansion, and Beckett winds up defending himself by shooting him with a bow and arrow.
That was cray-cray.
Yeah.
Honestly, why is the grandfather going on? Why? The grandfather's fine.
Well, maybe the grandfather knows what Beckett did, or at least suspects.
Know. He might suspect, but he's not going to...
Well, why else is he trying to kill Beckett then?
Okay, he's in his 80s.
You think he's just demented?
Yeah, maybe, actually.
He knows. He knows what's happened.
He's in his 80s. Beckett's around 30. He already has the money. Like, why would you invite the guy if you suspect that he's trying to kill off your family?
Because he wanted to kill him, because he knows that he's been killing off the rest of the family.
Well, he might suspect, but why would you invite the person who's been killing off your family to potentially kill you?
Because you have a gun and a plan.
It wasn't a very good plan.
It was a good enough plan until you realized that Beckett actually took archery as a kid. And
I mean, again, 80-something-year-old guy versus a 30-year-old.
he was pretty agile. There's nothing. I mean, he wasn't walking around in a walker or
I could have taken him.
crutches or anything. Well, I'm sure you
I
could
could have taken
have.
him.
But also, too, he's chasing you with a big, scary gun. That looked like some sort of antique gun that was big barrel, and it was scary.
Yeah, that whole exchange was weird. And you know what?
Let's go back to the what would you do, though? So you have your engagement party at 7. You also get extorted for $300,000, and you get this invitation from your grandfather who has never communicated with you and completely disowned you and your mom. First one, what would you do with being extorted for the $300,000? Would you basically use the company's money? Because he doesn't have $300,000. And she has pictures of him at all these scenes, and she is a psycho and obviously would have no qualms about using this evidence.
You can't pay him off. You can't pay her off. You can't.
He also says, Julie also says, not only am I going to turn this into law enforcement, I'm going to give it to your little honey who you're playing house with.
See, here's the thing. Unless you have some way of knowing, and there's literally impossible in this case, that in exchange for the money, you will get every piece of evidence that could possibly tie you.
And you wouldn't, because she's a psycho.
Exactly. So, you're basically going to be held hostage by her forever. So, no. If I'm being frankly honest,
Well, that's why we're here.
I'd probably kill her.
I actually thought about it because out of everyone, she's actually deserved to be killed more than anybody. She is a terrible human being. I mean, initially we got little weird flirty things and then she'd be like, "Why are you flirting with me? I'm married." And initially we thought she's a little unstable, but then as time goes on, we realize she's not just unstable. She is diabolically unstable. So
yeah, that's the thing. She's not unstable. She's incredibly stable.
She's an evil genius.
She's an evil genius.
So second, what would you do? Your grandfather invites you the same night as your engagement party. What would you do?
Here's the thing. I'm calling up Ruth and saying, okay, listen, I get it.
I get it.
I get it.
We're inviting all our friends over.
We have this party going on. If you take the party out of it, by a huge margin, I'm having the most insane day of my life right now.
Which he cannot tell her about the extortion or the
doesn't
murder.
have to tell. He can just say at that point, he's just like, I am literally having the single most insane day of my life. We need to reschedule this. Tell them I'm sick. I promise you when we reschedule, I will be there. But if you try to make me be there right now, it's not going to go well because I'm not going to be in a great mindset to begin with. I'm not going to be able to fake this one. Now, yeah, you're going to have to figure out what to tell her because you're being extorted because you did murder people. But in the meanwhile, you got to get her off your back on that and just be like, I love you. Please understand. And then again, you'll have to deal with that later, but you've got to get her off the radar on that one at this point because that's just making it even worse.
So what would you do is update the paperless post invite to the engagement party and send out cancellations to everybody. Okay.
Basically, yeah.
All right. So then you would accept the invitation to your grandfather's. I mean, if you're saying you're going to cancel it, are you canceling just because it's a bad day up to then, or are you canceling so you can go to your grandfather's?
See, that's where it gets real interesting. I think you have to go to the grandfather's because the idea here is that he's this insane recluse.
Yeah.
That you
don't have access
probably
to.
not going to get another chance to see. And I mean, this is, as far as you're concerned, this is the final boss. This is the one who actually exiled your mother and actually made sure that she died. Like, this is...
Well, he didn't make sure that
by
she
not
died.
giving her money.
Well, I mean, not giving her money doesn't make sure that you died. Again, it's not clear if the family even knew she was sick.
Well, if you got that much money, you probably know what the hell's going on.
I don't know what they know. They lived in New York. It's a big state. I'm making excuses. I'm just saying we don't know that they knew that.
I'm not meeting this guy in this situation. Now, that said, if I'm going with a plan to kill him, I'm going with a plan to kill him. Because it did not appear that he had one. His plan was show up and see what happens. That was not the plan he had for, everyone else.
Well, yeah, because he didn't initiate any of this. He had initiated meeting all the other family members and inserting himself into their lives, either by saying who he was really or having a disguise. This guy invited him. So, yeah, he was definitely more on the defense than the offense. So let's fast forward because a lot happened in this film and we could talk here for a while.
I'm just going to note, I would not have gone with the plan to kill him. I would have gone with the plan to fake making nice.
Okay. I probably would have as well. So the grandfather dies because archery and arrows and whatnot, but it's self-defense. There's nothing that anyone can, say otherwise. The whole house is shot up. But then, after getting away with all of these murders, Beckett gets charged with the murder of Julia's husband, the guy that he had to deliver the $300,000 to. And yeah, he had an altercation with him, and yeah, the guy got thrown to the floor, but he left. So the irony that he's gotten away with all of this, but you can, at this point, we're starting to get pieces that Psycho Julia, has set him up and killed her husband and is making Beckett take the fall, testifies that Beckett's always been in love with me and he must have done this to get close. And Beckett goes to jail, not for any of the murders he actually committed, but for the one he did not.
Yeah.
What would you do if you were Beckett? Like, on one hand, you're getting nailed for, rightly so, for murder. It's just not all the murders you actually committed.
So here is the thing, okay?
Oh. One important fact. He gets arrested for this murder when he finally inherits everything. He's having basically a coming out party into society of being the heir apparent and getting everything. So after all of that, he did get everything. And then he's arrested at the party.
So I'm going to interject a little reality here.
Oh, that has no place in films, but go ahead.
Number one, let's just assume that he had killed the husband.
Okay.
That more than likely would not have been tried as a capital offense. Now, I guess maybe if they tried to throw in the extortion or something like that, but I guess though extortion is probably not the type of crime because capital has got to be either like with intent. Like you went there planning?
Well, they said he did. It said he did, and unfortunately, he was angry about having to pay this $300,000. So there's videotape of him storming into the office and looking around for him. So yeah, that looks like intent.
But you know what? Here's the thing. There's the extortion part of it.
Well, they don't know about that.
Well, why don't they know about it? Because there's company checkbooks. There's
and that's what Julia took when she killed her husband.
The paper or the check?
Yeah, she wanted the money. You think she just left the $300,000 check there? No, she took it, she killed her husband, and then she set up Beckett for the fall.
I think there would have been a paper trail. Here's the thing.
But they didn't know to look for it. All they knew is that Beckett stormed in.
He would say, go look for this.
Go look for what?
It's not like his lips were zipped. He could have said something.
But no, what? See, that's the thing, though, is nobody knows he did those other murders. So why would he say, go look for the extortion check because they were trying to extort me because they knew I committed all these murders? Who would do that? Right now, you're on the hook for one murder. You think you're going to give them 6 more or 7 more? Who would do that? What would you do? I would not set myself up for multiple murder charges.
I wouldn't say why I was being extorted. But I would say I was being extorted because here's the point. At this point, you have to assume that she killed her husband.
But you can't just say, I'm extorted, but I'm going to tell you why.
Well, you figure out why.
The police would figure out why and that he committed all these extra murders.
Well, no, you'd probably be like, it's financial crime, something like that. You could easily, in his position, be like, I'm being extorted because of something financial.
Yeah, and then Julia can release all the evidence, and you get nailed for all of
But once the husband's dead, if you can provide a reason like enough reasonable doubt as to why you didn't kill him, you might be able to easily connect her to the murder. So she's not going to want to say anything about his previous murders, basically to keep him quiet from saying something about his murder. Like,
she is an all or nothing crash and burn kind of psycho. So she would not just shut up because someone had something on her. She's the kind of person who throws a match onto gasoline and walks away with a smirk.
But you know what? It's because she drew up a huge freaking diagram of exactly what that place was going to look like once it went up in flames. No, she wasn't acting impulsively.
In flames? What are you talking about?
You said drop the match and walk away.
Well, that was an analogy. That didn't really happen.
Yeah, my point is that everything she was doing was calculated.
Yeah.
There was no screw it attitude with her.
Yeah.
At all. So I think there could have been something where if he'd been smart, he could have basically found a way to go down for some financial crime. And
okay, so what would what would you do is that you would take the gamble and try to expose part of what you did, hope that nobody would actually look into it further, and think that you could take down the psycho without her trying to take you down back.
I mean, if you're facing capital murder, like what's the alternative is not worse.
Actually, it is. It's murder on 7 separate counts of murder. So even if you get off on one, there's multiple additional counts of murder.
5.
Whatever.
If you're facing capital murder, the punishment is you die.
Right.
It's not if you commit 5 murders, you die faster.
No, but
you still die.
Okay, yes, but I'm saying if you get off for the one, then you've still risked all of the others.
My point is he was facing the worst case scenario as it was. There was literally no scenario that ends worse for him than that. So, yes, it is possible that he ends up essentially committing 2 other murders because of this, but it's the only gambit he's got.
Okay, so let's fast forward here. Long story, long.
But by the way, before we do this, the judge and jury, or at least the jury, that finds him guilty is not the same one that sentences him to death. Those are multiple phases. And trust me, on a capital, like, the bar is so high on capital because they know that it's the ultimate punishment.
Okay, Scott, you fact check films.
Plus,
they don't care about the accuracy of how all of these details work.
And I know,
it's entertainment.
I know innocent people sometimes die on death row, but I also want to note that he was white and rich. White rich people don't wrongfully die on death row.
Okay. All right, so jumping to the end, Julia makes a pact with Beckett as he is just hours away from being executed and says, sign everything over to me and I will release a letter from my husband that's basically a suicide letter and is a get out of jail free card. And Beckett signs this paperwork and hopes that Psycho Julia follows through with the release of the letter. And she does, and he gets out and he's released from prison. He's exonerated from this, walks into the parking lot, sees his fiance, who basically gives him back a memento from his mom and drives away. And then he sees Psycho Julie in the parking lot, who basically gestures to get in the car. He gets in the car, and they drive to his mansion, which is now her mansion, and the gates close as the car goes up the hill, which I have to think that the imagery that the producers were trying to capture right there was he's in a jail, he's in his own new prison as the gates closed as they were driving away. So what would you do if you were Beckett? You are released, and the psychopath that put you there in the first place basically says, come on, get in the car.
Sure, I'll get in the car.
Really? Wow.
Well, because here's the thing. You're once again playing nice. Now, you know, there's kind of some missed steps here.
But why are you playing nice? Wouldn't you want away from the psychopath?
Of course you do. But the psychopath still actually has everything on you. She still has all the other things on the other 5 murders. So she gets you out of that one. You also know that legally, if you sign away your fortune under duress, and clearly it would have been under duress, that's an invalid contract. You can get your money back. Easily get your money back. But you still have to take care of Julia first.
Wow, okay.
Because she can still drill you. So, yeah, you're back to playing nice and figuring out a way of knocking her off.
Okay, but yet you can't have another murder of someone close to you.
Also,
because he
she's not
managed
going to be
get away.
driving that car that quickly after, like, literally, like, exonerates, like, next day. Like, she doesn't get his fortune the next day. Like, there's probate.
Okay. You are fact-checking entertainment
I am.
way too much.
Well, I put the IRL in Cinema IRL sometimes.
You do. Okay. So my what would you do is I would take this as the most brutal life lesson, and I would take my murdering butt and consider myself lucky from getting off a death row, and I would keep walking past Psycho Julia, and I would go somewhere remote and change my name and just live my life in the most simplest way possible and consider myself freaking grateful to still be above ground.
Julia wouldn't have been okay with that.
If she wouldn't have
Julia
found him.
wanted control. She wanted control. It wasn't just money, it was control. And if he'd walked away, she wouldn't have had control over him. So she knew that.
Well, but I'm telling you what I would do. That's what I would do.
Because that's
would
the thing.
keep
I
walking.
still think she still would have
It's
turned him
kind
in.
of like the last episode in Dexter. If you have not seen the original Dexter TV show, please skip past this part. But Dexter basically goes to the middle of nowhere. He disappears in the middle of nowhere. I would do the same.
Maybe, I don't know. I'm still taking care of Julia.
Okay. Well, this episode has been nearly as long as the film, so I think we've said everything, and I guess we will be sending this transcript to the lawyers so they can fact check your fact checking.
We hope you enjoyed our episode. Thank you for listening. And to catch all the new episodes, please subscribe. We release 2 to 3 episodes weekly, so we'll have new content regularly. Until next time.